Good evening. If everybody would stand for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Recording in progress.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. We have a lot of visitors, so we're just going to go in tonight. So we have one item from the floor. So here's our policy. So total time for public comment is going to be 30 minutes. So we only have one. Each speaker is a minute, maximum of 3 minutes. There will be no mechanism where you can donate to send to another speaker, and no individual may speak more than once during the time remaining. Public comment is an opportunity for the board to listen to individuals on educational issues, and board members are encouraged to listen attentively. However, public comment is not a time for dialogue between the board and the public. The board will not respond to statements, questions, or challenges made during the public comment period, and there will be no back and forth dialogue. Please know that the board's silence is neutral. It's neither a signal of agreement nor disagreement with the speaker's words. We're just here to listen. Although the board will not engage in dialogue, the chair might ask the speaker a clarifying question. It's also possible that the school district staff will contact a speaker at a later time to follow up on an issue raised during public comment. With that, Lucinda Ashby, you have 3 minutes.
Sure. So my first one is, I know the bond's coming up, and I would ask before to understand the facilities plan for the buildings not covered under the bond to get that. I'd like to know where we're at on that.
Okay, Alexa, will you contact Mrs. Ashby afterwards to give that?
Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to comment on is I pulled down the meeting notes from last month, or the last meeting. I gotta say, you guys are really good at sweeping stuff under the rug. You've taken comments from very upset parents and surmised it with bullying. My very specific questions about the HIB procedure to help understand it, so that I can help other parents understand it, so we can address bullying before we have a Columbine event, was surmised as HIB procedure questions. Should I assume that that's what all of the rest of the meeting notes are? Watered down, diluted, nothing?
Our minutes have passed the inspection by the state auditors. Our minutes have passed legal review, and they will stay as they are.
Okay, so you're just going to sweep everything under the rug?
There's nothing else swept under the rug. Thank you. All right. End of public comments. Superintendent's report.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start. We have some guests with us today. Suzanne.
I was going to start a little bit and give you a little bit about background. So October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and the theme this year is access to good jobs for all. And so as a highlight of that, I want to make sure that I clarify that you can have a disability but not be in special education services. So we have approximately 480 students that have a disability of some sort or another within the district, which is about 18%. Not all of those are served by special education. However, I would really love to highlight our transition program because it is access to good jobs for all. They've been working really hard on it. So Lori Goodnight and Taylor Hardwick are going to be able to sit for us.
Okay, so Ross, I might need your help with sharing.
You're going to do a pantomime because the video is not up and running yet.
Sorry.
We can turn on the
And then just change it to
hand puppet.
See my mouse.
Yeah.
Okay, it's up.
So
Did you want presentation mode or is it on?
It's on. How do
There you
I
go.
present? I just hit present.
there you go.
We can-
Okay, you can go to the next slide.
Oh,
Okay, so we're just gonna start by introducing ourselves. So I'm Taylor Brodwick. I am the PLC SPED teacher at the high school. Lori Goodnight, I do adaptive ed as well as resource and our head of the special education department. So I'm trying to get everything involved. So, where do we start?
Next?
Yeah.
Okay. What am I?
There you go. So our transition program at high school, it varies from ages 14 all the way up to 22 now. And this is just us focusing on some job skills. So here we are cooking, but we're going to go through all the other agencies that are offered if you are in the special education program and have a disability. You can go to the next one.
Okay, so we reached out to all of these agencies to help the kids connect to transition services. We hosted a transition parent night last year, and we're going to host another one here in October. We haven't got the dates. They're still, everybody's trying to agree on a date right now, but that will be hopefully in October. And we make sure that all the kids, because there are a lot of students that are not receiving special ed services that do have disabilities, that we actually connect in with the services also. And that's just a few of them that are out there. So at parent night, we connect with DVR, DVA, those provide skills and work opportunities to build their resumes and cover letters and all that. And we do a lot of advocating.
Yeah, so we actually have agencies that can come in during school hours. We usually like block out some time slots during the day so parents can come in, and the agencies can help them with all those long paperwork, not so fun stuff that parents are always like, oh my gosh, how do I even start? So we can do that a lot at the high school along with our transition fair. And we also have the kids go out in the community. So you'll see that in the next slide to focus on some job skills.
Okay, so the pre-employment workshops, the DVR people actually come to our building. Right now, they're going to start next week in Taylor's program once a week. And then with the resource kids, they were doing once a month. We can't pull them out. They legally can't pull them out of their classes. So we have to find them. Do that, and they work on soft job skills, which include the resumes and interviews and all of that stuff.
And then in my classroom, we just work on like the social skills piece and how to, work alongside others in an appropriate manner. So here we did a project where it was just them putting stickers of like things they enjoy, whether that was like working at McDonald's, different qualities that they have within themselves, and then they got to share it. So it was pretty fun. You can go to the next slide.
So this is some of the jobs we've had, and these are all in the building, but we also have jobs sites in the community where we go to factory, yokes that actually were hired from. And we're trying to expand out to get more of the resource kids out there.
Yeah, we haven't got that many pictures so far just because we haven't been in school very long, but I just kind of took some from last year. So it's as simple as like cleaning to working at like thrift store and like stocking the items, just anything you can think of that can get them that job experience that they can have to put on their actual resumes after high school, help them get a job. So it actually counts as their experience, and we help them with the resume, the food handler's permit, really anything that you can think of.
So we pre-COVID, we used to do all of these things that we were going to start getting back out there to do, because we've had public transportation come in and do workshops with us and actually take them ride the city bus and going to the stores and using their money skills to purchase. And we've been to field trips to the mall where they have to decide and locate who is a trusting adult when they got lost and things like that. So we're going to start trying to get those all together as well as sports.
Yeah, unified sports. We have bowling coming up in November this year. We just joined the GSL league, so I'm working with Rogers to get that started. But we like to do soccer, we want to do basketball, and then I'm also really gonna plan this track meet this year in the spring. I'm gonna invite all the schools to come to our facilities and maybe sell some like t-shirts or something for us to fundraise and get some money for our program too. So really excited about what's to come. And then speaking of, so when we get the date for the next transition fair, we'll get that out to the community and to the parents at the high school. So all those agencies will be coming, and then I'm doing a blood drive for the first time, and it's actually going to start next week, and then we'll do one in the spring as well. So if this is welcome to the community, people that work at the school district, students, there's some requirements. You have to be older than 16, parent consent, have to fall under like the weight scale and height scale. So that's going to be on Thursday next week. So if any of you would love to donate, you can talk to me. You can email me, Taylor.Brudwick, with my school email, or you can scan the barcode. But I'll have Alexa and Suzanne share that too.
Are you going to do that more than once a year?
Yeah, so this will be next week. And then if I get a certain amount, I need about 50 people. And then if I can do that again in the spring, then they're going to give me some good grant money where I can take the kids to do more things all together and try to get some skills practice.
I'm an avid blood donor, but if you work with the church, the Catholic Church here does blood drives all the time. So maybe you could work with them to do one together, because neither one of you are probably going to get 50 people, honestly. Yeah. So, but together you might.
Yeah. And we're doing it in the high school gym, and it is during class time. So we'll like pull the kids out, pull the teachers out, provide all the snacks and things. But yeah, it's going to be hard getting people this time just because it's short notice. Trying to tweak some things. But in the spring, I think, yeah, whether it's like with the church or a key club at the high school, we can join together and we can like split the grant, and either way it would be awesome. So I'm really excited.
Patty Frost used to give extra credit points to my kids that should dedicate blood. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's legal.
Yeah. But I think that's all we have for you guys.
So I just want to compliment both of these ladies have been fantastic. So I think that the upcoming parent night, transition night, was attended by outside districts.
Oh, yeah.
We're like the hub for this.
Oh, awesome.
The other thing is there's been new legislation that there's a class action lawsuit. Students get to stay past their 21st birthday, and they get to stay till their 22nd birthday right now, but there's no funding associated with that at all. So that is something that's going back to the legislature as well. So when that was something I just basically told her in the fall, hey, you're gonna have kids till 21 now, and we'll be able to work through it.
Yeah, and I'm participating with the transition network. We had our first student last week, so they're giving us lots of information.
So we are hearing that some of the local agencies want us to have students in school until age 26, which is difficult because you can't have a 26-year-old with a 14-year-old. So just kind of things that we're working towards is on that. But these ladies have been doing fantastic job, and I'm super excited about it.
I'm really excited about the STA. If you guys have that opportunity to do the whole tour.
Yes.
So that's something that everybody needs to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they come out. Students that were also students that in high school were on IEP to do some of the training and prepare as well. But now it's fun. We have a good time. So it's nice that we're back out there.
Are you guys going to do the prom again?
Yes.
Yeah. And
My kids
funding.
still talk about
has been an issue for that as well. So that's also why I'm trying to get this blood track going, so we don't have to worry about that type of stuff, because we will have it no matter what. It's just whether it's gonna be as grand as it's always been, so.
So you get paid for those that come in and get blood.
Yeah, there's like different tiers, and if you meet like tier one, with 50 people, but yeah, if you can get even more, but I'm happy with anything, honestly, so I'm just excited. So hopefully we get people. But yeah, any other questions?
Can I ask a question? So, the public can come and give blood too?
Yeah.
There's some sort of a graphic that you can provide that we could help advertise it on our Facebook pages?
Yes, I finally got the flyer fixed. My talent lady and I have been going back and forth. So I'm gonna give that to Alexa, Suzanne. I don't know what you can and can't send it through, but if I get permission and they can send it for me too, I'll make sure the community knows about it. I'll put flyers up from Deer Park too. So
Okay, cool. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right, next. It's really hard to look in where I'm trying to go. Share yours.
Okay.
I guess I go back to the same place.
Yeah, and just change the,
Oops, but how do I get out of here?
gotcha, I see. Yes. Yep.
There we go. I think you're good.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's just that,
Oops. I can't see.
cancel.
Ross, we need to get her one of those little things.
We tried last time, but it didn't work.
Yeah, USB camera.
Her machine won't handle it, but we might have to just get it on another machine so then she can use that.
Okay, there you go. You're
Right.
good.
Hey. So I'm Ross Rother, Director of Technology. Realized the other day that this is my 20th year in K-12 technologies. Seems like it's gone by fast and yeah, so we'll go to the next slide. So there's gonna be a lot of clicking. It's one of those, more space bar. There we go. Our IT team. So we have a team of 4. Fantastic 4. Myself, tech director. We have Steve Krause, who's our network engineer and server support specialist. He's been with the district for 26 years, I believe. He's planning on retiring at the end of the year, but he is the head end support for our networking, our servers, camera software, phones. He can do a little bit of everything. Those are his kind of main focuses. Ted Brown, who's our main tech at our high school. He also helps support the theater and video production over at the high school. Anything pretty much tech related at the high school, he's got his hands in and helpful with. And then our new hire is Nick. He came on 3 weeks ago, so right after school started. So we were more than happy to get him rolling and up to speed. He's actually learned pretty quickly, so it's come along great. We're happy to have him. And then, as many of you know, the sites we support, we got the high school, which Ted's kind of homestead is there with all the technology there. And then the middle school, we have our offices right on the backside of the middle school, which is nice in case, something's going on in middle school, you just kind of walk over and help support. Although we do have middle school Arcadia, I'll add this in Deer Park Elementary, we have a few teachers that help with the kind of the first level support. If it's something quick to plug in or adjust, they're great. They save us a lot of time running around sometimes, and we definitely love having them. So yeah, Arcadia, Deer Park Elementary, HomeLink, both Deer Park and HomeLinks. And then kind of the we got ECAP too, that's kind of in between Arcadia, and the portables in between Arcadia and Deer Park Elementary, and then the bus garage, which we also support as best as we can. Staff and students is our main focus, and making sure the staff can teach and the students can learn. Do it like a couple more times, like so yeah. Chromebooks, one-to-one at all the schools. It's take home for the high school and middle school, and then at the elementary in Arcadia and Home Links, they all have as many Chromebooks as students pretty much in the building. And then the workstations, all the teachers have a kind of a laptop document camera set up with a docking station so they can hook up to their projector. Pretty select for the ESSER funds. We were able to utilize some of those to get everybody refreshed with their machines. A lot of them were kind of starting to fall behind, and we're starting to build a process on what that'll look like as far as going forward, because they're not going to last forever. So kind of slowly shuffle that through instead of all at once, which we were able to do with ESSER funds. Some of the physical objects we support, we got the printers, the projectors, the phones in the schools and the sites. And as I mentioned with Steve, he's got the main support with the servers and data storage and network access, some of the security pieces. And then I'm kind of the main support with the online integrations with curriculum-based learning, whether most of it's through Clever, but we also have some textbooks that go through it that need integration with our student information system, and setting up some of the testing integration with our enrollment. So here's kind of my summary for the last school year, since that was about the last time I was here. It was about a year ago. We're trying to remember what happened last year. Few of the major implementations we had, we're starting to downsize our servers, as you might imagine. A lot of stuff starting to go to the cloud a little bit, be cloud integrated. So some of our servers are getting a little long in the tooth, and so trying to consolidate a little bit and get the data down to fewer servers, so we have less to manage, and migrate some of the data and utilize the cloud as best as we can for resources. We're starting to retire some of our servers. They're getting a little bit older. We implemented some classroom management software on the Chromebooks last school year. In February, we started with First Ask was kind of from the middle school of Arcadia. They've been enjoying it, so that they can kind of help the kids in class and help them stay focused and on task. We've also started with the high school at the beginning of the school year, and we're starting to implement it there. It's implemented. We're just kind of working out the kinks and making sure it's working okay for everybody. But they're help them kind of manage the Chromebook use in the classroom is kind of the idea behind that. Network hardware upgrade we had. I think I might have mentioned at the last meeting a year ago. We ordered some switches utilizing E-rate funding to replace at the high school and middle school. Just a footnote, some of the switches in the high school were at least 20 years old, according to Steve. So some of them were definitely overdue for being replaced. And we got those implemented at both the high school and middle school. So currently, this last summer and up until now-ish, we purchased 300 Chromebooks to help refresh. The Chromebooks typically they're only supported for about 7 to 9 years. Just recently they extended it out to 9. But we, as you might imagine, we utilize some of our, so you're already aware, we utilize some of our ESSER funds to pay for a refresh of Chromebooks. And so with that not being an option anymore, get ahead of the curve when they all expire instead of getting them all at once. We're getting little chunks ahead of time, which helps us actually with backup devices if they start failing. So then we don't have to purchase as much extra devices or parts. So we deployed those. We ended up deploying them to the high school this year, kind of refreshed it from the high school down, and shuffling the spares to whichever the schools need them as the Chromebooks begin to start getting a little bit older and failing a little bit. So, one kind of interesting project we have this summer is Ted Brown and Cam kind of had a discussion where in years past, we've had at the high school, specifically at the high school, picture day isn't until late into September, maybe early October, and which kind of created an issue as far as ASB cards. And so they wouldn't get their ID until, probably early October. Well, one of the issues that Cam Gilbert had, the athletics director, was like, well, how do we keep track of everybody that's paid their ASB and getting into the games and such? Ted actually came up with the idea of we ended up purchasing a kind of an ID badge printer, and during school startup this year, the week leading up to the first day of school, they had each of the classes come in on different days and take their picture and get their ID badge and everything. So they were set before school even started, which was awesome. It sounds like we also probably saved some money as far as getting the machine and printing them ourselves instead of going through the photo company. So that was kind of a benefit as well. We also integrated a couple of his, some student helpers help make those as well. So it kind of blends together with the student learning a little bit, which was nice. And he tied that in with deploying the Chromebooks to the students at the beginning of the year too. So then they didn't have to come in and start school in the middle of class and then get here as much as we can before school starts. But there's always a little bit at the beginning of the year. Vape sensors. Those went in a couple weeks ago. I'll just say there's been a little bit of integration and getting used to them a little bit. Good news, middle schools have not gone up. High schools are busy. I'll just leave it at that. I know the crew at the high school is working on a method of trying to, when the sensors go off, they get a notification. And the timing on that, I guess, hasn't been the greatest as far as when they get notified and in relation to when it actually happens. But we're still kind of working through that. There's a couple other districts, local districts that have the same model of vape sensors, and they seem to be working okay. But we're still working with the company to see, kind of tweak it, and make sure they can be used to optimally. High school and middle school. And we've been just working with school startup, but we're in the third week here, and we've had a lot of, go ahead and place your hand like that. Starting up Nick, and as he's going into his third week, I think this week, and quick turnaround and starting to learn the buildings, learn the staff, going to the next one. So 257 work orders, kind of the last few years I've kind of been keeping track of how many at the beginning of the school year. That's about average. So that's just for what's been put in, not necessarily hey, this is going on, or walking through the halls and stuff like that. So we've been pretty busy. Upcoming, we're looking into getting a new security camera server replacement. Our current one's probably at least 5 to 8 years, older than 5, probably 8 to 10 years old. Starting to run a little slow, not as many features. Starting to run out of storage, so it's time to get it replaced. Network hardware installation refresh, so kind of going back to replace the switches, the network switches at the high school and middle school. We're going to focus on on pretty much the rest of the district, which was E-rate funded, which we received all this last summer. So in the past year, a lot of stuff was pushed back just because they didn't have the product. So this year we actually got it over the summer. So we're starting to implement it already, but just kind of replacing the old hardware that's been at the other buildings to keep the network speeds up to snuff. Also, other future plans, there's a couple grants going around that would help with, you want to go ahead and flip again, Alexa, help with the security camera server, help fund the security cameras possibly. So add some battery backups. We had, you guys remember back in April, we had 2 or 3 different power outages within like a week. So that was fun. That killed the UPSs. But and then there could be some grants to leverage for cybersecurity helpful with for our district. I think I got one. Send the Wi-Fi coverage and, still plan on trying to upgrade the internet to the bus stretch. I was actually there yesterday and it was down. Luckily, it was a Sunday. It was down for most of the day. And then I showed up and started working. So
Scared it.
right, scared of it working. And then kind of been on the back burner for the last couple of years, but phone system replacement would probably need to do in the next couple of years. This last year, I don't know if this is over or not, but this last year worked pretty well. The 2 years prior, we've had a couple server failures, but apparently it's up and running well. I think all I got. So questions.
I have a question. In regards to the vape sensor and being incorporated in, you mentioned different schools and maybe it's a quicker response time. Is that because their internet, their Wi-Fi is potentially better?
I don't think so. I think I just I'll go out there and kind of see what's going on. Yeah, because they've been trying to work out a process to see what would work best, and which is great. But the last thing I was hearing at the end of last week was kind of, well, we're getting the emails like a minute and a half after the kids are already out of the bathroom and stuff, which there could be many variables included with that as far as, where were they in proximity to where the sensor is, or I don't think it's the email being slow, but we have to probably just investigate a little bit more. So it's we're in the bait game now, so.
Thank you.
Great.
So as far as addressing those vape sensors when they go off, even if they are delayed, we can use the security cameras to identify the time mark and all that. But so you mentioned we're going to update the security camera system. What kind of things have we looked into so far? Which way are we leaning on that?
There's a few different, a lot of them out there are very similar. The biggest issue we have currently with what we have is a little spendy for the lack of, I don't want to use the word features, but lack of robustness, I guess. Where we could purchase, essentially, we need to replace the hardware anyway, but getting a whole new system would, for actually a fraction of the cost, and implement it with that, would be a good change for everything. And, over the last 10 years, not necessarily just the cameras themselves, but the features of the softwares where things you can manipulate. Not that we have to get too fancy, but be able to be confident that they're going to work all the time and capture what we need to capture. But yeah, with the one thing that's nice is when we implement that, we can have both systems stood up at the same time, so there's no loss. So we can keep the whole system going, and once the system's up, and then let that keep going. And kind of over.
We have kind of a projected timetable on when that's going to happen.
As far as that piece goes, probably within the next couple months is the plan. So it's one of those where I've looked into about 5 different ones, and I've got it down to 2, and then started talking to some of the local districts or local vendors that we work with. And they're like, well, we don't like this one because of that. We don't, it's easy to kind of point out what they don't like about it instead of going, I really like this. And then the company that helped us install vape sensors brought another one to my attention that I need to look a little bit farther into, but that might be the leader once I discuss with them a little bit, look at it a little bit further. So yeah. Yeah, there's some nice systems out there, but there's prices are all over the place too. So keep in mind.
Cool. Thank you.
That one.
Yeah.
So the ID badge, like you mentioned, is that what the rumor was by high school, thinking you were tracking them in and out of the classroom? Okay. Just curious.
I haven't heard anything. That's yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's just kind of the whole idea behind it was to get them sooner than
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, thank you, Ross. Really appreciate it. Just wanted to again thank Suzanne, Taylor, and Lori for their hard work and their programs. Thank you, Ross, for the technology update. The capital projects and the technology projects that we have short-term and long-term are very connected. Ross works very closely with Steve because a lot of their work is integrated and together. And so we have short-term and long-term projects that we're working on, and it's constantly rotating. Just wanted to share with you that over the weekend, I attended the Rotary Golf Tournament, and that's one that Joe Feist has sponsored and been a part of for many, many years. He is retiring that project of his at the end of this year as well, but it was another great year. The Rotary is fantastic. All of the proceeds that they get from the tournament all go toward our students. So our students from 3 different districts, Mary Walker, Riverside, and Deer Park, apply for scholarships, and all of that money goes directly back to our students. So it's great. It's a fun event to be a part of and to support. Today spent the afternoon visiting the high school. I was able to see the classroom management in action. So the teacher can see from their laptop all the screens that the kids are on to make sure that they are where they're supposed to be. They can see all the tabs that are open. They can send them little notes to remind them that they need to get on task. They can block them out if need be. That's a last resort, obviously, but it really has supported the opportunity for engagement. I will also add that an addendum to that is that the no cell phone use during the classroom time has gone over really well. I know Troy has started a student kind of voice group that he's hearing from, and they actually had positive comments that they made about it. So I know that it's a bit of a change. Although it's been in the handbook for years, we're now enforcing it, and they are consistent among the buildings. And K-8, it's always been off and away during instructional time.
That monitoring system, I used that when I taught at HomeLink. It was a great tool because you could actually have the students, you pull up the screen on the screen and let the other students teach what they did to make like a 3D model. So they could actually take their screen and start to draw, and then that can be projected. So you can actually use it for education.
As they're working from their own laptops, right? They can get up and show.
Instead of,
pretty cool.
You can also use as, are they working what they're supposed to? But the more positive is that you're now able to allow them to
That's great. That's great. So students teaching students. Thank you. The other thing as a part of Goal 2 that's connected is we had talked about doing the student, staff, and community family survey focused around culture, climate, relationships, belonging, and safety. So in front of you, you've got a proposal. Anya and I have done a little bit of research to try to find a survey that met the needs, wishes, and desires that we're looking for as it relates to Goal 2. So we've done some research, done some interviews. Really, that 360 baseline data is going to be really important for us as it relates to the climate, culture, relationships, belonging, and safety. It's really perspective and perception-driven survey. So I'm hoping that this fall, probably around conferences, that we're able to get some baseline data and then establish some goals moving forward, both at the building and systems level. So our next steps are to work with building leaders on survey design, what questions we want to use, work on communication, how we're going to communicate it. Surveys are not new for Deer Park School District, but this will be a new survey. And the nice piece is it will maintain longitudinal data over time. Last week, I shared with you, spent some time with many Spokane superintendents with Executive Director Mick Hoffman from WIAA. We talked about the transfer rules, state tournaments. I learned a lot about high school athletics and sports, but really the tension between cost versus geographical and looking at the best teams. And so that's a tension that they're constantly weighing because we're talking about those overnighters, the expense, the missing of school, the hard time finding bus drivers to be able to maintain their routes. And so that's become a challenge for us. So we talked about that, and he talked about that tension. He talked about the name, imagine, likeliness, the NIL, and how that relates to high school sports, all kinds of learning. We talked about the Guardian caps. But just as I know that this has been a conversation that's been ongoing within our community, but at the end of the day, state laws prevail for all of us, right? So it's not a WIAA piece. It's not a Deer Park School District piece, but WIA, as a side note, is a part of a 501c3, is a private nonprofit organization. They are also subject to state laws. But as we were reminded, there's a couple of case laws, even in the private sector, that are subject to the state laws and discrimination. The first example that Nick shared was the example of the florist who didn't want to provide flowers for a wedding that they didn't agree with. At the end, they were found that that was a discriminatory practice. There was also another case law around a Korean spa specifically that was female only. And when a transgender female came into that space and they asked that person to leave, that was also found in the state of Washington as a discriminatory practice. So it's not just a Deer Park School District. It's not a WIA. It's a Washington state law. And I also wanted to remind all of us, that we've signed an oath of office, that we will follow the law, and willfully not following the law puts not only the school district in liability, but it puts all of us in individual and independent liability. So as a friendly reminder. But I did learn that WIAA has 6 districts comprised of 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A schools, and that across the 6 districts, there are 53 representatives that vote. It's very similar to the House of Representatives. They have established very clear processes for decision-making, but at the end of the day, the law has to be followed. So, switching gears for the ledge session, the big 3 priorities shared by WASA include special education and funding more of special education, transportation. Right now, we use a process that I'm not sure I completely understand. I don't even know if Carrie and Brendan completely understand. It's the STARS program. And then MSOCs, like I've shared with you, are costs like for insurance and those kinds of things continue to go up. October is right around the corner. I can't believe how fast the school year has gone. But October is an anti-bullying awareness month. And so wanted to provide to you an update that K-8, we're providing explicit instruction around bullying, what it is, what it isn't, and how to report. There's a difference in, I think, a continuum between kindness, being rude, being mean, and then there's bullying. And a lot of times, not the kindness piece, but the rude, mean, bullying, pure conflict, they're all conflated, but they're very different. And bullying, intimidation, and harassment are clearly defined in the RCWs as pervasive, persistent, ongoing power imbalance such that it limits or denies a student from their educational access. So it's its own entity and its own definition as prescribed by the law. But we're going to be doing some anti-bullying awareness throughout the month of October. Deer Park Elementary will be using our curriculum called Second Step. It's the bullying prevention, and they'll be doing lessons, activities, and videos. Arcadia will be using the PBIS Expect, Respect model, and Amy Bachman, their counselor, will be in classrooms doing specific lessons. Middle school has a 3-part series throughout their class that will be done in the classrooms through the Voices platforms. And they'll really be talking about kindness versus rude and mean versus bullying and how to resolve each of those. Taylor and Lori talked about the October 3rd blood drive. So that information will be coming out. Wanted to remind you that the 3rd and 4th of October, I'll be out of the office. And then I don't know if any of you had a chance to log in today to Reichdahl's budget requests. They're huge. And his proposal is huge. But MSOCs are upwards of 410 million, I think he said. He has female hygiene products on there. He has increasing pay for classified staff. I think it equates to a large sum of money. So in case you didn't listen, you might want to tune in and take a look at that. And getting to upcoming dates, WASDA is November 21st and 22nd. I believe everybody's RSVP'd for that. Perfect. You're registered. I believe you should have received an email confirming your registration.
I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay. And then we are hosting the Spokane Directors Meeting October 10th at 5:30. I need to RSVP for us. Are all of you able to make it? Yes.
What day is that?
That is a Thursday, October 10th, 5:30. It's at Deer Park High School. We are hosting.
Yes.
We have a ledge panel coming, Representatives Riccelli and Volz, and they'll be hosting a panel. So I think all 6 of us will be in attendance at the high school. Also, they changed the annual legislative conference. It's no longer Day on the Hill. So now it's going to be at SeaTac at the Hilton, January 11th and 12th. So January 11th from 4 to 8 p.m. and January 12th, 8 to noon.
There is no set. That's before general session.
Correct. No more Day on the Hill.
No more damn.
So they've changed that.
Educational for us. Very
Is that
good.
what Lindsay went to last year?
We all.
Craig, Lindsay, Eric, and myself went last year.
You went a day ahead, didn't you?
Yeah, I always have to.
Or wasn't it?
Early because
for WASDA? Oh, okay.
board meeting the day before.
Yeah, and that's when we were able to set up time with legislators. I don't know what it's going to look like this year. We're not all in Olympia. And we had back-to-back meetings set up with legislators last year. So the January 11th and 12th. And then the NSBA Advocacy Institute in DC is February 2nd through the 4th. I guess it's no conflict of dates. First time for everything. And then the NSBA annual conference is April 4th through the 6th in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're interested in any of those, please let us know. Okay. And that is all I have. Any questions?
Brendan, enrollment update.
Enrollment, we're looking solid for the first count this school year. We are about 7 months from budget, which is one, and some districts have been considerably behind in enrollment. We're up about 50 from last June, which is pretty typical to have a higher in the beginning. It's kind of slowly decrease. One of the biggest things that we saw regionally and statewide is the low number of kindergartners. So almost every other grade enrolled up, which is expected, but we're seeing a low number of kindergartners. There's a lot of factors. They said birth rates are lower than normal, but yeah, we don't know if it's very more online programs, homeschooling, or what, but there's not so much.
Anything else? All right, thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at the consent agenda? So that's your motion, please. Okay, a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Consent agenda. Okay.
So I looked at the minutes for 26 August and 9 September. On the 26 August minutes, it does not reflect the conversation that you and I had about bullying. That we talked about the families that came in May. And you and I had a conversation. We did it at this board. I wrote this letter.
That was after the meeting.
Okay, so how do we get that?
That's not part of the official.
Not part of the meeting.
Okay, so I have a letter that discusses that very discussion. So how does that get incorporated?
How does your letter get incorporated into our minutes?
Right, because we did discuss the bullying.
So if I remember right, you have specific names on that thing with different specific families, etc.
Correct.
That cannot be. There's HIB and there's all sorts of different things that apply. So
right, but we only use last names, last family names.
It doesn't matter.
Just remember,
Because-
student information is protected by FERPA.
Right, student, but there are no student names in my letter.
I don't know what
Only last names of the families that came forward in mid-May. And I was following up to what was happening with them. And we discussed it, I guess, after the board meeting closed. Okay. But I still wrote this letter to discuss what we we're going to do forward. Those families did come back to the 9th September last month. No, seriously, the 9th September. Okay. So without this inclusion, I feel that the minutes are not, I don't know how we address this gap.
But we address what gap?
This discussion that's incorporated in this letter with this meeting on 26 August.
So those families came, they presented to us, and Alexa is following through.
Okay. All right. Let me move on to the 9th September minutes, which was a follow-up to our discussion from 26 August. I don't see in the items from the floor multiple families that came forward in discussing bullying and the gender issue that was part of the policy that raised some considerable concern. Nowhere in this discussion shows what the parents said or their concerns. This filters the embarrassing, I guess, information that we don't wish to share in the minutes.
No.
Well,
all those folks came and it's listed what they talked about. If folks wish to go deeper into that, at that point in time, they can watch our video, our recordings, and see more. So we are not going, we have discussed this numerous times about our minutes, how they are not in depth. They are bullet points and So that is what the parents talked about, that if people wish to see more, they can look online and watch the thing.
How do you get to those videos?
So
On the board, they're on the website, on the board page.
Okay, because I didn't see them today. So the parents bought. Okay.
Well, I feel that the minutes should be a reflection of what is being said during the meeting.
thank you.
And should be a summary. And these are not adequately summarizing the discussion that occurs. So each of these should have.
I'm going to stop the discussion. At the last meeting, we voted to continue to go forth with the minutes and the format and everything that we have been using for a long time that has passed all the audits, etc. So that is I'm sorry you feel that way, but that is the way the minutes are going to read. We voted on it. It's a done deal. So we have a motion on the floor right now. Do you have anything further about the minutes?
Well, I think I've been very clear.
You have, and so have I.
That they do not reflect the discussions during the meeting and they are not captured in the minutes.
We brought it up at the last meeting. We voted on the thing. As a group, we are moving forward with the way the minutes have been in the past and continue to be going forward. Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, please let the minutes show that. All right. For discussion, I had all of Alexa's dates on, that was my board discussion. Does anybody have further discussion they'd like to bring up right now?
Just wanted to make sure that you all completed the WASDA
Oh,
self-assessment. If you haven't yet, please do. That'll help the board create goals.
If you could have that done by our work session, or actually a week ahead of our work session next month, whenever that is, then we can get those back because it's all computer generated. WASDA sent it to me.
Okay. Can I give an update on the general session?
Yes, please.
Also, may I discuss the vendor vouchers?
In a minute, Craig.
Okay.
So this last Friday was the WASDA general session where we had multiple policies, up to about 50 policies that we as a board earlier, about a month or two ago, went through and we all discussed and we agreed upon which way we'd like to vote as Deer Park School District. And essentially, we're not voting for legislation. We're voting, here's how they put it, we're informing bills through adopting WASDA legislative advocacy positions. So WASDA goes on the behalf of the schools to legislation and they fight for the things that are voted upon during this general session. So there were out of 1,500 legislative reps, there were 120 legislative reps that registered for this general session. And I was one of them, but also Lindsay tagged in at one point, you can hand off credentials to somebody else. This thing went from 8 a.m. till about 4 or 5 o'clock. And so we went through each one. It was really interesting how they did it. They would present the position and then they had those for and against would come in, and a lot of it was done through Zoom. A lot of it was done through local, and people get to vocalize their position. And for the most part, I would say probably about 95% of the positions that were passed were ones that we as Deer Park were in favor of. So I feel really good that a majority of those positions that we hold, especially local control, some of those positions passed, and those are things that they're going to be advocating for us for on the legislative floor. So I was happy with how it went. I want to thank Lindsay for tagging in and help finish that up when I had to go to work. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know that's part of how we've been active and trying to fight for the values that are important to us here in Deer Park.
Anything else, Greg?
Nope.
Jerry?
I wanted to thank Brendan for pulling together the vendor vouchers for all expenditures over $10,000 to help me see where a unknown vendor was being paid, and I had no idea as to what for. So I appreciate that you took the time to pull that together, and that would have helped me sign the consent agenda had the minutes not been an issue. Okay, so thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we have action items, policy 5404, first read. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? Ask for motion, please. Okay. It's been, any discussion?
This is the edits that we looked at last month.
This is first read, so.
Okay. Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, we have an executive session scheduled, so thank you all for coming. The executive session is to receive and evaluate comments or charges brought against the director or staff member. So with that, we're going to adjourn for this evening. Thank you.
Quick question on the 10th, can parents come or is that just a you guys thing?
That is a school directors association meeting. It's not a public meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.